Ready? Trigger the alarm.
Welcome to another Warframe video, where in this one we'll be counting down the top 5 beginner Warframes, with one of them including 3 that you can get from the same location. To start off the list, we'll be doing the group one, which you can get from the Tenno Lab and the Dojo. The Dojo is very easy to get. All you have to do is ask to be part of a clan, then you get the Dojo key and craft it in your foundry. Once your Dojo key is crafted, you should be able to go and find the Tenno Lab in your dojo. Once you do, you can craft Neza, Volt, Wukong, and Zephyr. We'll be looking at all of them but Zephyr. Zephyr is not a good beginner frame at all. Does not really give out any damage, any buffs, anything that's really useful for a beginner player. To start off this group, we'll be looking at Wukong, which was recently reworked to now have a celestial twin and a few more buffs that were not with him before. Before, he used to be a really bad frame. Nobody liked him, nobody wanted him. Very squishy, as they called it. Just not a good frame overall. So like I said, with Wukong's rework, his first ability is now different, with him shedding a new skin into a twin, which has a health multiplier of yours. And if you have a 1,000 health, it's going to be huge, 4,000, 5,000, depending on how much you upgrade that. His second and third ability are the only ones you're ever going to use. They're called Defy and Cloudwalker. Cloudwalker just makes you invisible into a cloud, and you just go around the map, and you can also, as you're moving, rebuild your health, which is very useful. It also works for the twin as well. All of these abilities go with the twin. The twin does not, you can't get rid of the twin until either you die or you leave. It's the only way you can get rid of the twin. Defy is one of the most useful abilities besides the first ability. This one will go with the twin, and you will just hold a staff in the air and then spin around, and the more enemies you kill, the more armor you get. I believe the max is 1,500 and the minimum is 50. I'm not certain about that, kind of forget, but it is a good armor boost. You might not notice it, but if you did compare the two, it is very useful. Next up is Neza. She has pretty useful abilities as well. From what I did when I played her, her first and third ability were the very useful ones. Her first ability is a timed ability or duration ability, in which you walk around or run around and fire leads behind you, leaving a trail for enemies to walk through and then get caught on fire, which is very good to destroy their armor or anything like that. Skipping to her third ability. Her third ability allows you to create a little shield, which builds up over time, which you'll see to the right. And as it's building up, you can stun enemies that are near, which allow you to easily kill them. Her fourth ability is not really useful at higher levels, unless you focus your build around that, which you shouldn't. But if you do end up putting your build around it, it could work at higher levels. But overall, it's not the most useful tool in your kit, and I would not recommend using it at all. And her second ability is really just fun. It just throws the little, I don't know what you would call it, hula hoop that's on her back, and you just throw it at enemies and it comes right back. It's more of a fun ability than a useful one. So obviously you can use all of them how you want, but the first and third abilities are the ones you're really going to be looking at. The last one in this group is Volt, which is one of the 3 Warframes you can get when you log into the game for the first time. If you don't get him, he's very easily attainable. Like I stated, you can go to the Tenno Lab from your dojo and grab him and craft him. For Volt, you should focus on his second and third ability. His second ability is Speed, which gives himself speed and ally speed for your weapons and your sprint. Then his third ability is a shield, which you can either carry in front of you or just put down, and as a shield normally works, it blocks oncoming bullets or any damage. But the catch with this shield is that when you shoot through it, it makes your bullets electrified, which if you already have an element on there, like fire, it can cause for the fusion element, which I have no idea what that is, but could add for added effects and damage to whoever you're shooting at. Now for the fourth one, we have Ember. Ember is a very easy frame. She's located on Saturn after you defeat the boss, the assassination. And after you do that, for however many times you get all the parts, you can craft her and make a very good beginner fire frame. Right now with Ember's rework, her fourth ability is still used as well as her third. Her second, I haven't really gotten the hang of it. I don't find it useful. I don't really think it gives you much armor. And then after it builds up, it just wastes a bunch of energy, which you could save for the fourth and third ability, which are really your damage dealers. Her third ability sends out a wave of fire, which just gets rid of all the armor from all the enemies that are around you and possibly killing them, depending on how low the level is and how high that is up in damage. Her fourth ability puts meteors down on the enemies around you, causing them to go on fire if they don't immediately die from the impact. But if not, it is a very good crowd controlling and damage dealing ability, much like her old fourth one, which this is significantly worse than her last one, but is still a good damage dealing ability. Third on the list is Excalibur. He is also one of the frames that you can get when you log in the game for the first time. He is also an easy frame to get if you don't end up selecting him. He's located on Mars with the assassination attempt, and as you do it over and over, you get all the parts from him, and his parts are relatively easy to farm as they're obviously on Mars and other planets to get the resources for them. For the example for Excalibur, I did use Excalibur Umbra. They're really the same thing, except for Umbra, he has a different way of using his second ability. They both do the same thing, they both stun, and they're both very useful. So for Excalibur, you'll look at his second and fourth ability, and maybe third, but it's not really useful like Neza's fourth on high level opponents or high level enemies. His second ability is either with Umbra to howl, but with the original, it's just really him sticking his exalted blade up in the air. That sounds horrible. But then he blinds, that sounds really bad as well, all the enemies, and leaving a good opportunity to kill them or do an execution on them, which depending on what your thing is, you can go invisible once you do the execution. His fourth ability, which is his most famous ability, is his exalted blade, which is very powerful, and you can now mod the blade separately to then deal more damage and give out a toxic dealing damage or a combination like gas, viral, anything that could really make it easy to kill other enemies in this game. So with that, his fourth ability is by far the best and one of the better weapon abilities in this game. Second on the list is Frost. Frost is a very easy frame to get, as well as a very easy frame to use. Even as a beginner, if you don't know what you're doing, nobody should yell at you, because all you have to do is place a snow globe around a certain area. If it's defense, it's around the thing you're protecting. If it's survival, it's around where everybody's at. Or just mobile defense, same thing, around the thing you're guarding. Very easy frame, and he's mostly used for defensive missions. But his third ability is really only the useful one. His second one and fourth, they deal damage, but not the greatest. Second one does deal more damage than the fourth one, no matter what you're modding for, really, from what I have experienced through him. His first ability is only useful for the globe, in which if you want to get rid of a globe, you can simply use the first ability on it, on the outside of it, and it gets rid of it. But normally you'll just spawn more and more globes with a maximum of 4 globes. Now the first one that was on this list was Rhino, because he's the most famous and easiest frame to get. He's located on Venus, and his abilities aren't the greatest long term. Maybe Prime, it's really good, but for beginner it's great, especially his second and third ability. His second ability is Iron Skin, in which gives you a shed of armor that gives you a scale at the top right of how much damage you take, and I believe gives you an added perk. I don't know, I don't really remember that. I don't play Rhino that much. I just know the first frame I got was Rhino, and the first frame almost everybody gets is Rhino, and he's very useful for beginner missions like that. His third ability gives you damage boosted and reduction, I believe, for anyone in the area when you use that ability. It really good puts a shade of gold, or I believe any energy color that you have around it, and it gives you a buff icon in the top right by your health bar. This is very useful for beginners, obviously, because your weapon's not fully modded, can't be as best it can. So with this, it can boost it and help you not die. And that sums up the video. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was short and sweet for you to just skim through and look at all the Warframes that you should get if you're just coming into the game. All the videos that I have up to get some of these Warframes will be linked down on the bottom, so if you're confused or do not know how to get some of the frames, just look down in the description and they will be labeled there. Again, thank you for watching. Have a good day.